So you think you're ready to buy your first home in Hamilton, eh? Cool, let's make sure that you don't accidentally blow it before you even get the keys. Now, if you feel like you don't know everything yet about the process, that's totally normal. You're not supposed to, especially as a first-time buyer. You don't know what you don't know. It's easy to miss something important, especially if you've never done this before. The mistakes that first-time buyers make aren't usually loud. They're sneaky, they're subtle. They don't rear their ugly heads until they're costing you thousands of dollars. So in this video, we're going to break down the 5 mistakes that buyers in Hamilton keep making and what you can do to avoid every single one of them. My name is Steve Lopresti. I'm a real estate agent in Hamilton, Ontario. So if you have any questions at all about the real estate market or moving to Hamilton, buying a house, whatever, my contact info is up on the screen. You can reach out to me at any time. Let's get into it. The first mistake that I see buyers making all the time is falling in love with a house before they get pre-approved. This is the first heartbreak I see most first-time buyers run into. So you're scrolling on House Sigma, you see a place you like, you book a showing, you start mentally placing the furniture, and by the time you talk to your bank, somebody else has already come in and bought it. Or worse, you try to make an offer, but the seller goes with somebody else's offer because your pre-approval is not locked in. So while Hamilton might be slower than it was in the boom years, I find that the good houses that are priced reasonably and that you actually want still go relatively quickly. So what you're going to want to do instead is to get pre-approved before you even start looking at listings. Anything that you look at before you're pre-approved is all hypothetical. The pre-approval gets things started so that when you find a house you like, you can move quickly, and it also sets a real budget so you know exactly what you can afford and what to expect from your monthly payments. It also locks in your interest rate, and the best part is it's free, so there's no reason to not do it. The second mistake that I see first-time buyers making is prioritizing aesthetics over function. A well-staged, beautiful home with nice finishes might catch your attention, but you want to look beyond that. What's under the surface matters more because function beats finishes every time. So a lot of times when buyers are distracted by the charm that a house has, they're missing things like knob and tube wiring behind the drywall, outdated windows from the 90s that are going to bleed your heating bill, sketchy plumbing jobs, and basements that seem fine until the first spring thaw. If you don't pay attention to these things, it can easily cost you tens of thousands of dollars really quickly. What to do instead is to work with somebody who knows what to look for. You want to make sure that you're checking out the plumbing, the HVAC, the electrical system, the roof, the foundation. Head down to the basement, look for any signs of water leaking, look near the windows, look for any weird smells, stuff of that nature. The cosmetic upgrades are easy. If you don't like the kitchen, you can always change that, but issues with the foundation, a little bit harder. The third mistake I see buyers making is getting paralyzed by choice. So in the 2022 market, the problem was there was too little inventory. There was barely any houses on the market, and the ones that did come up sold quickly. In 2025, we have the opposite problem, which is great. Don't get me wrong. Having choice is awesome. It means that you're more likely to find the house that you actually like. But sometimes too much choice can be a problem too. You start overthinking everything. You start second guessing every floor plan. You start to think to yourself, well, maybe if we just see one more, maybe there's another one that'll come up that we'll like even more. And then you end up dragging your feet, and then the good deals out there get scooped up by other buyers. What you're going to want to do instead, before you even start going out looking at houses, is you're going to want to define your non-negotiables. Set yourself a clear price range that you want to stay within, and keep track of what you've seen so far, what you've liked, what you've disliked about each house, and why you've decided to rule some out, and why you're considering some over others. And the last thing is just don't expect for a property to be perfect. There's inevitably going to be some flaws with every property. You probably have to do some work with all of it. That's just part of the game. And the question to ask yourself is whether those flaws are worth dealing with. So in my experience, it usually takes buyers about 5 to 10 showings to find a house they actually like. So don't expect to find the perfect house on the very first one that you view, but also if you're looking at 30 different houses, you're probably overthinking it. The fourth mistake that I see first-time home buyers making is blowing every single dollar that they have on the down payment. This one doesn't hit you until the adrenaline ends up wearing off. You scrape your 5% together, you put it down, and you're all happy you got your offer accepted. Then the invoices start rolling in. You got to pay your land transfer tax, you got to pay your lawyer's fees, you got moving costs, you got home insurance, property taxes. And then you find out after a couple weeks of moving in that your water heater dies and you have to replace it. So now you're broke, you're stressed out, and you're one bad day away from opening a line of credit just to fix a leak. For all intents and purposes, you're basically house poor. So what to do instead, you're going to want to make sure that you have a cash buffer set aside of at least $5,000 to $10,000, ideally as much as possible, just as an emergency fund set aside for a rainy day. This is after your down payment. Ideally, you want to expect about another 2 to 3% of the home's value in closing costs. You're going to want to factor in some of the basics like painting, furniture, changing the locks when you first move in, appliances, that fun stuff. You also want to make sure that you don't blow your entire budget on a home that you really like, but is maybe a little bit outside of what is comfortable for you every month. So if your savings are a little tight, you want to pad them, but pad them fast. Be smart about it, but don't use that as an excuse to sit on the sidelines and wait, because while you're doing that, other buyers are out there buying the house that could have been yours. The market won't stay patient like this forever. The fifth mistake that I see first-time home buyers making is buying the best house in the worst location. So you come across a house that looks perfect. It's staged perfectly. It looks like a magazine cover. It's newly renovated, open concept kitchen. It's within your price range. Got the perfect lighting, so you think to yourself, well, this is a steal. Then you drive the block for a little bit and you see why it's been sitting on the market for so long. In Hamilton, one wrong turn puts you on a street where the curb appeal immediately ends and the regret begins. The difference between a dream home and a daily headache can be just one street over. So you might get a great deal and the house itself could be perfect, but it can come with some hidden challenges. So long commutes, minimal walkability, no transit access, sketchy neighborhoods or safety concerns, weird neighbors with dogs that are going to be barking all night, and all that leads to poor resale demand. It's going to be something that you're going to be living with daily. So what you're going to want to do instead is you're going to want to walk the neighborhood, ideally different times of the day, morning, evening, night, so you can get a feel for what it's like at different times, because something that might be really quiet at noon might be a train wreck at rush hour. Take a walk around the block, ideally talk to some of the neighbors if you can, see how they like living there, if they have any grievances with the neighborhood, that sort of thing. Then you're going to want to check things like walk scores, transit routes, grocery stores, schools, nearby parks, and so on. The right house in the wrong place is still wrong. You can change the kitchen, but you can't change the street. You've probably seen this before, people saying things like location, location, location as a big selling point for a lot of these houses. It's a little annoying, but it is true. Location is the most important element when you're buying a house. If you have a choice between a bit of a tear down in a really, really, really nice area and a really nice house but in a horrible area, it's better to go with the tear down. It might be a little bit more work and it might not be fully move-in ready, but at least you can make it what you want and it's already in a nice area. The other one, it might be really nice right now, but that area is probably not getting better anytime soon. And there's nothing that you can do personally to fix it yourself anyways. So if you want to avoid the common traps that first-time buyers make when buying a home, you don't have to do it alone. You just need the right strategy before you start shopping. You can reach out to me for a free buyer consultation. We'll sit down, we'll go over your entire situation, your budget, what you're trying to do, and then we'll walk you through the process of buying your first home, start to finish, and make sure that there's no gaps in your knowledge. You can also download my free first-time home buyer survival guide, which again will just walk you through the entire process. It'll tell you how to write your offers, how to prepare yourself financially, what mistakes to look out for, and other stuff as well. So if you're interested in that, you can just send me an email asking for it. My contact info is up on the screen. It's also down in the description. All right, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you like these videos and you want to see more of them. And I'll see you next time.